This podcast is not intended to provide any investment advice. The opinions expressed here by either the hosts or guests do not necessarily reflect the views of PSA, Collectors Holdings, or any of their affiliates. Any discussion of collectible values in the past or present is not a guarantee of future performance.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Green here, and today we are back with another installment of guest submissions here on the PSA Pod. As you might know, guest submissions features in-depth hobby conversations. We will be welcoming a variety of guests into our studio, from prominent expert leaders within the collector's family to respected hobby voices and personalities across all genres. The goal, as always, is to inform and entertain from several different angles, whether it's discussing product developments and enhancements that improve PSA customer experiences, or just simply talking shop and collecting from different perspectives. Collectors of all levels and experiences will enjoy what lies ahead. Today's guest, a show regular, joining us once again with a lot to dive into, is PSA President Ryan Hoge. Ryan, we've got so much to talk about on the PSA front, but it's tradition. What's new with you on the collecting front? What do you got for us? You've always got cool stuff to bring to the table.
Yeah, I don't know if this is cool, but this is kind of fun stories to tell. So yesterday I actually picked up a couple of autographed items that I had dropped off for authentication and grading a couple months back. And so as I had mentioned before on a previous podcast, my family and I recently relocated down here to Southern California this summer. And so I'm kind of slowly going through the process of unboxing lots of things. I happened to find a folder from my childhood that had lots of autographed items in there. And two of the items that I found were from the same event, both personalized to me, so to Ryan. One is a program for a golf tournament in Maui, the Kapalua Pro-Am Invitational. It was from November 1987, and it was signed by Jack Nicklaus.
Oh, wow.
And my dad actually was he was working for a company at the time and got to participate in the amateur part, and my mom went out with them, and so they got to go. And I've heard lots of stories about this trip. I was a little kid. I stayed home. I think my grandparents came and watched me. But so I had that program signed to Ryan, best wishes, Jack Nicklaus. So that was one, was able to get that thing encapsulated too. It fit in, I think it was big enough that it went in one of our Type 1 photo holders.
Oh, nice.
So that's pretty cool. So that has a spot on my bookshelf at home. Nice display piece. And then the other one from that event was kind of a cut signature. It was on kind of a name card that you would have, like a piece of cardboard, like reserved for so-and-so at the restaurant, but it was actually at the same hotel, same tournament. But this one also personalized to me, but it was signed by Huey Lewis and then Johnny Lee, who most people don't know Johnny Lee. He was another singer, more of a one-hit wonder, but back in 87, he had a really popular song called Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places. Also personalized to me. Got that thing encapsulated. I think it went in one of our check holders because it's about that size. Both kind of fun. And I sent a photo of these to my dad yesterday when I picked them up, and he had no idea I still had those things. So it brought back some good memories for him and my mom.
So only Huey Lewis, not the news.
Not the news. It was just Huey.
Okay.
Huey was out there.
Still pretty cool.
Very cool. So those are fun. So not the most valuable or anything like that, but a fun story, really good memory for me and my family.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
In terms of sentimental value, you can't put a price on
Yeah,
that.
totally. Now they're encapsulated and protected. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, we always want to talk about what's happening here at PSA, and there's been a lot in this past month and a half. And we're going to start by talking about one of the most exciting product updates that we've rolled out here in a while. So it's a new feature that gives customers the ability to determine where each card in their individual orders is headed to once it finishes the authentication and grading process. So you can send cards either back to you can send them to the PSA vault, you can send them to be listed in the next available Golden Weekly auction, card by card in each order. And we've gotten really positive feedback on this so far, giving customers and collectors that kind of flexibility to maneuver. So let's talk a little bit about the motivation behind putting this update together and what kind of drove this.
Yeah. No, we've had it live now for a few weeks. Early reaction from customers has been great. I think they really appreciate the level of control that we're giving them now and the experience. And look, we launched the PSA Vault in July of 2022. So it's been a little over a year. We wanted to have this capability when we went out the gate. we just couldn't get it built in time and have the right product experience around it. So it took us a little bit longer to get it built. But we always knew that the right thing to do for customers, and oftentimes when you're making a decision about what do I want to do with this thing, it's after you see your grades. So now you have that moment. It's like, oh wow, I just hit a PSA 10 on this, and maybe that's great. That's what I wanted to upgrade my set registry. Or hey, woo, I just made a bunch of money potentially on paper here. I'm going to go ahead and sell this thing and recoup some funds so I can go buy another box of cards, or I can go, submit more cards for grading, or go pick up that grail piece. And so I think just giving that item by item level control post grade too, because before you had to make the election, before you even submitted, not only was it on an entire order level, but you had to do it before you even knew what your grades were, that you had to commit to send it to the vault. So now you've got that control, and we're trying to just make it the fastest path to liquidity, so that you can move on and keep doing what you want to do in your collecting journey.
So with this change to the product experience, there's been a shakeup with our My Orders page when you go to the website within the app. Customers have had some questions so far as they're getting used to this, but basically, grades are available earlier now. That's the
Yeah.
big headline.
Yeah. Because we didn't want to add more time to the grading process, like how long your cards are here. We wanted to give people time to make a decision. What do you want to do with them? So by showing the grades earlier, on the value and kind of bulk service levels, that gives you a 3, 4, maybe even 5 days, just depending on how things are going, um, time to make a decision around what you want to do. Now, if you have a higher service level order, let's say a Super Express, that's a 5-day type turnaround, you're not going to have 5 days to decide. You might have a day, but at least you have a little bit more of that buffer to decide what's happening with your cards before they automatically, either go to the vault or get shipped back to you at home. But yeah, the experience and the user, the UX around it, and what you see on the website or the mobile app is shifted a little bit. But for the most part, it's the exact same steps in our grading process are being followed. The only additional step that we actually introduced from an operations perspective is at the very end, right before things get shipped, where we reconcile on an order by order level and look at every item, what's going to the vault versus what is going to your house, and that's it. Otherwise, all the same steps from a quality control perspective are being followed.
So, are there any other changes, at least you can tease to or talk to, that are coming based on customer feedback to this point in the few weeks since the launch?
Yeah. One of the things that's gotten highlighted with this change, and something we've been aware of for a while, is one of our top issues that we have when customers reach out to us via social or via email or calling into our customer support team is wanting to know the status of an order. We advertise turnaround times, estimated turnaround times on a business day fashion. So that means, a lot of people don't know, like when we're at the national and we're doing on-site grading, those actually count. We take those out as working business days because a lot of the core operations team is not at HQ to process orders. Um, Labor Day, 4th of July, those are holidays. They don't count as business days because we're not working on those days. And so oftentimes people have a hard time figuring out, wait, when is the estimated finish date for this order? When is it? Is it over? Are they running ahead? Are they behind? So one of the things that we're going to do is actually put right in the My Orders experience for orders that are in progress. You'll be able to see an estimated completion date. Now it's an estimate, but at least that knows the parameters on what we're working with internally once that order has been fully received by us and it starts its journey through grading.
That's big.
Yeah, it's empowering for people. We're hoping it cuts down the need for people to have to reach out to our customer service team, obviously, to get answers to those questions. But I think it's the right thing to do, just so that it's really cut and dry, and it's easy for you to see at a glance. Like, when should this thing likely be finished?
Another big announcement we had recently was continued international expansion. You've been on this show before and talked about the importance of international expansion for PSA. We just recently launched the full operation in Japan, and now further north in North America, north of the border, we have our first official PSA submission center in Canada.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting. We announced that this month in September, and we have a lot of customers in Canada. We've been doing business in Canada for years. We've worked with some close partners, but this is our first step on hiring, a full time employee in a team that's under PSA. We have an office location there. And it's a signal of our further commitment to that country and that market, that we want to continue to develop relationships and provide a great customer experience.
So customers, to clarify, can still send their own cards to Southern California, our HQ,
Yep.
from Canada, but speak to the benefits of either dropping off or shipping to our submission center as opposed to that with this now up and running.
Yeah, I think if folks are comfortable submitting directly to the US and in navigating customs, continue to do so. This isn't necessarily needing you to change that process, but if you don't wanna maybe hassle with that or you haven't figured it out or you found it challenging in the past, you can submit your cards directly to our submission center, which is in, Nova Scotia, and, our team there will organize your order, get it sent to California, it will get processed, and then it will go back to there, and then they will work on distributing it back to you. And then we'll also be able to have this, that team work with customers at shows that we're gonna be at in Canada, and in fact, we can probably talk a little bit more about the, Toronto Sports Expo that we
Yeah.
also announced that we're gonna be at.
And a pretty big, pretty significant feature there from PSA, something we're doing for the first time in company history outside of the US.
Yeah, yeah, we are gonna be doing on-site grading. This, pretty much the same scale that we did in Chicago at the National. We're gonna be having a slightly smaller version of that in Toronto, and so all those Canadian customers and even maybe US customers that drive across the border, for that event will be able to participate in on-site grading, and we'll be taking drop-off submissions as well that we'll fulfill and kinda ship back once we bring them back to the main office.
Have you been to Toronto? I love Toronto.
I've only been to Toronto once. I went to the 1993 World
Ah,
Series
good, good time to visit.
yeah, that was, the Joe Carter Game 6 walk-off homer. I was at that
Oh,
game. That was my one and only World Series game I've
you
been
saved
to.
the ticket, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
And
have
it's
'em.
okay, good.
I have 2. I have 2 ticket stubs. I have my dad's and I have mine.
That's awesome. It's no, this is really exciting. It's a great market up there and is there anything else in the pipeline right now in terms of international expansion where you're looking next? What's going on that front?
Yeah, yeah, just to kinda recap where we are just so that folks are aware. We have, so we are doing grading, have full-blown grading operations in California, New Jersey, and Tokyo. We have official PSA submission centers in Shanghai, China, and now Canada. We are looking to expand and have additional official submission centers, in other international markets next year. And so, no specific announcements to make. We currently work with partners throughout Europe. We have a brick and mortar location with David Adams in the Netherlands that we launched earlier this year that's doing very well for us. Yeah, it's very exciting. I'm gonna be doing some traveling, meeting some people and getting to know those markets and customers even better.
What else is coming up that customers can look forward to that maybe you want to tease or discuss here?
Yeah, well, there's one pretty exciting thing that's gonna be coming, live in the next few months. I don't wanna share a specific date because I think, it's gonna be quality driven. We're gonna make sure the product experience is right, but we've been working really hard on revamping the overall online submission experience, both for kinda your desktop browser as well as on mobile to make it even easier for customers to submit cards, to us. Some examples of features that will be in this is when you're typing in a card, in the browser, we'll actually pull forward a thumbnail so you can do a visual comparison to say, yeah, that's the exact variant or card that I'm trying to input. And then even on mobile, being able to create a mobile submission by taking a photo of the card. So we're excited about that. We're looking at capabilities like having integrated shipping labels, so making it easier for you so that you don't have to go pay for additional postage and shipping and do it on your own. It can just be integrated in our experience. We can pass along some of the savings and discounts we get because of the volume that we do so that you can have that inbound label to make it easier to get your items to us in California.
Easier than ever. And that's one thing that I think we've learned, especially first time submitters, making that process as easy as possible. Just making that first experience as smooth as possible.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually just reviewing this recently with some of our leadership team as far as core priorities or themes for PSA this year and into next year. And one of the main themes is making it easier to become a customer of PSA. And a lot of that is reducing friction in the experience. I think our international expansion plays into that. Get closer to the customer, have experiences in their language, in their currency, with their shipping providers, being able to be at more shows so you can interface with our employees in person. reducing that fear or anxiety about shipping your item to us,
Mhm.
and having new technology experiences. It lowers the barrier and makes it more approachable.
Oh, before we go, it's almost October. We got to talk playoff baseball,
Oh man,
right? I
oh
mean,
man,
your two teams
I'm jonesing.
are neck and neck.
Yeah.
We're in the final week. Yeah.
It's kind of funny. I've told people this now. I'm now living in my third AL West city. I just constantly bounce around from AL West. So I grew up in Dallas. So I'm a big Rangers fan. You know, Nolan Ryan, to Rafael Palmeiro, to Pudge Rodriguez, Juan Gonzalez, and even Will Clark. Like that whole era was me. And then I got was on the bandwagon hardcore with Josh Hamilton and Beltre and those teams that had the two heartbreaking losses. And then I moved to Seattle in 2006 and then went through that gap of any semblance of a competitive team. Got to see Ichiro, which was great. But then my last couple years there, we had, Julio come on the scene and a lot of the young talent matured. And so I really became a pretty big Mariners fan as well. So yeah, I've got my two teams and, we've got the hated Astros. Sorry, Astros fans. I work with a lot of Astro fans. Duking it out for whoever's going to win the division. And then likely, all three of those teams are likely going to be in the playoffs, depending on what Toronto does.
Mhm.
So yeah, the next week and a half is going to be really exciting.
Do you like this 3 wild card format?
I do.
Yeah,
I do.
I like that it gets more teams in, but I was at a game last week with my parents trying to explain to my mom how the wild card system works. I actually had to look it up because
Yeah.
I'm so confused by it. But the more the merrier.
Yeah, no, I like it. And I like the new baseball rules this year. I feel like the games
Mhm.
have gotten a lot more interesting. I've been to probably more games in person this year than I have in many years in the past. And it's fun to be able to go in and take in a whole game in under 2.5 hours. The pace of play and just even the offensive production this year has been awesome.
Yeah.
And I'm amazed at how much base stealing there's been too. I think that pitch clock, the side effect has been you can't hold guys on and you can't mess
Mhm.
around with that. So that's why you got guys running wild out there.
And guys setting records left and right.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
The first ever 25 home run, 50 steal season
Yeah.
for a rookie and all these things.
Yeah.
But, no, it's been a much more enjoyable fan experience. I went to a couple spring training games with the pitch clock in effect. I'm like, all right, this might be pretty good. And I'm in the same boat as you. I've been to more major league games this year than I have in probably the last 10.
Yeah. No, it's fun. It's good stuff. And so I'm hoping we have a really good finish to the regular season and it sets up for an awesome October.
Can't wait. Well, maybe we'll have you back in October. But either way,
always happy to join.
Either way, we'll have you back before the end of the year because not only really exciting things happening right now, but in the coming months.
Yep, for sure.
So thank you to Ryan Hoge, PSA President, for joining us here in the latest installment of guest submissions on the PSA Pod. We'll be back next week with more. Thanks for tuning in.